This is Chuck, the editor-in-chief of whatyoureading.com. Tonight's What You're Reading Talks gets a little off the rails, but it's a fun conversation. Tonight it's myself, Stephen Biscotti, one of our staff writers, and Joe Gradinsky, one of our new staff writers, one of the guys who's covering, he's doing all our, doing a lot of our television recaps. So we talk about a lot of stuff tonight. We talk about TV, comics, movies. I go off a little bit on Iron Man 2. Stephen defends it. It's a fun conversation. We have a good time. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and let us know what you think. Check it out and give us some comments in the comments, okay? Thanks for watching. Enjoy. And now, What You're Reading Talks.
Like, what do you have on your desk right now? What is that? Just regular coffee?
My regular coffee cup, yes. No alcohol whatsoever. This is just me, pal.
I gotta say, what was really funny was last time when we did our blab post Rhode Island Comic Con when I got home. Yeah. It was basically 2 o'clock that we were doing our blab. We're going back and forth, totally conversational. And what's happening is, like, I'm saying, like, and Rhode Island Comic Con was really fun because Jason Momoa, he was the most gregarious guy, and like I was talking about things that made no sense. I was jumping. You were just that made no sense. At some point, I think you were kind of falling asleep, like just like.
Oh, my elbow slipped off the table at one point, but that was booze. That wasn't sleep. I had a whole bunch of beers that night while talking to you. It was great. I just kept going like, and I had a cup over here. I was throwing the caps in the cup. I was like, ding, 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 ding. Yes, that's the way to do it. Goal. It was nice. It was a nice conversation. Yeah, I was awake for most of it, which is more than I could say for most of the conversations I'm involved in life. By the way, this is my favorite Superman paraphernalia. You know why?
It's a micro USB?
It's a memo drive. Do you know why I love it? Because I get to rip his head off.
It's funny because the second you showed me that, I knew immediately which piece that was.
Oh yeah, well come on, who else depicts him like this? Seriously.
I know, right? Yeah.
Who else would depict him, with a giant fat head?
It's funny because during a Rhode Island Comic Con, I picked up a bunch of cool new Superman things to add to my collection, namely the Kenner Hasbro Superman animated series action figures. So at New England Novelties, pretty much they're the place that I've gotten most of my Superman action figures from, and so I buy 4. I'm pretty confident that I don't have them. I bring them home, and I'm looking at like my whole trim of Superman figures, and I'm like, oh shoot, I have 2 of them. But yeah, it's like these right here, the Superman animated series. So I'm trying to decide like what I want to do with them. If that's something that I want to maybe open up and do as a review for YouTube.
I should take you to a shop and trade them. Should bring them into a shop and trade them for something you don't have. Get credit, man. Store credit is everything. You know that.
Yes,
I have lived on store credit for years. I love store credit.
I like your way of thinking. It's the truth because the thing is, I have. I think right now I'm nearly complete with my Superman animated series run of action figures. Maybe like 2 or 3 pieces. I don't have any use for having spares, additionals, having something to open up because it's just a complete line that I'm keeping in the box. With that said, I think that's a good idea. I think I definitely might want to, to bring them in and maybe get like an Arrow action figure.
I just did that for a friend of mine. I took a bunch of his common baseball cards, and I went into the shop in Forest Hills, and just got him store credit because you know what I mean. What are you gonna do? Try to sell them for $1 a piece on eBay for like the next 40 years of your life? You know what I mean?
No,
I mean maybe he probably got 15 cents on the dollar really what the cards are worth, but it was all done in one move, and he got a gift card, and you can walk in there and buy materials now.
Right.
That's one of the things that when we talk about, brick and mortar versus internet and buying stuff at shows, and I do believe the collectible shops need to stick around just for that because you don't have that swap meet mentality at any shows anymore. You're not bringing stuff to a show to sell at a show, to buy stuff. It's not going to happen. You may bring stuff to be valued or to get slabbed, But you're not doing a trade of any kind with anybody. They're there to make money. You know, you go to your shops for that. You go to your local shops to try and get that kind of a relationship going. And I've been doing that for a long time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I brought stuff in to Mike or Diane and just went, do me a favor, just, store credit. So when I come in on Wednesday, it doesn't kill me. And they're great. They count up. Yeah, sure, no problem. They write me a slip. But it also, you have to build that relationship. You have to be the type of person like you have it, and I have it because we've been doing it forever. But that's that type of relationship you have to build. You have to bring them good stuff and say, oh, it's okay, whatever you want to give me, All right? You have to do that a bunch of times before it becomes the kind of thing where they're like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem, And you have to find a good shop to do it. There aren't that many, unfortunately. What do we have today? What do we have to talk about today? Well, I know you just watched Ara. You watched a little Ara, didn't you?
I watched a little Ara.
Now, just tell me how much time in the episode was he shirtless? Because this is what everybody cares about. Was he shirtless a lot?
Only shirtless during the end of it.
Was he oiled? Was he oiled and shirtless? Because this is where we're going.
No, it looked like maybe like he just stepped at. No. He was he stepped at the end, and probably one of the most interesting things now at the end of last week's episode, which I believe was called Haunted. You find out that Constantine gave him one of the sets of tattoos that he has on his torso, and it's a set of I think it's like the Chinese writing that's on his torso. He's had it since season 1. That was like the one set of tattoos that they never explained why he had it.
I assumed he got it when he wasn't on the island, when he was being trained.
Well, it turns out Constantine actually was the one that gave those to him, and it's done in a very cool way.
If I can interject for a second, I'm a couple episodes behind. So when they brought Constantine in, it wasn't like a first meeting episode. They already knew each other.
Oh yeah, they knew each other from years ago, back before he even became Green Arrow, and it was done in a really cool way. Basically, brief non-spoilerish explanation is that Oliver, like his third time when he was on the island working for Amanda Waller, he encounters John Constantine. And John Constantine introduces him to magic, to mysticism. He doesn't really understand it, but they kind of become friends. And it's done in a really cool way. And then they bring back Constantine current day, and they make reference to the fact that
hey, Joe.
Hey, guys.
I didn't tell Steven. I just brought you in because I figured if I open the seat, you'd jump in. What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Not much. Thank you. And Chuck, thank you for everything you and Steven, you guys have been doing for bringing me on. And I love it. This is great.
You're doing the work, man. You're doing the work. Don't thank us.
This guy, I got to say, he got Gal Gadot the favorite.
Yeah.
What was that? How long have you been stalking her?
Hey, this is today. We just did the Wonder Woman thing. This guy, Steve, he texted me in the middle of the afternoon. He's like, write me a quick paragraph on your thoughts of Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. I'm like, okay. Wrote about 4 or 5 sentences. Shows the article. I tweet it, and a couple hours ago, it's like, Gal Gadot. I got the email, the alert. I'm like, holy crap.
The background story of this is earlier today, she posted up a picture of herself on her Instagram.
She's working out.
Yeah, of her working out. So a lot of different fan sites, they're kind of talking about it. One of the little angles that a lot of people I think didn't necessarily make the connection with is that the whole primary crew is currently in London right now. And if you've been following Jeff Johns, Patty Jenkins, the director, Clay Enos, the set photographer, who pretty much works on all of Zack Snyder's movies, they've all been talking a lot about being in London. A couple of days ago, Gal Gadot posted on her Instagram the London Underground. We know London's going to be where they're going to be filming Wonder Woman. I think they might have already started filming. And
really?
It's pretty exciting because
like all the lead and stuff.
Yeah, I would think so. I would almost guarantee it that Wonder Woman's definitely in pre-production right now. And what's really cool about it is, unlike Batman versus Superman, where going into it, we kind of knew the primary cast. with Wonder Woman right now, other than Chris Pine, Nicole Kidman, and a few rumored people, we don't really know anyone that's in the cast. And so they're in London. Yeah.
I was about to say, I heard a split-second rumor that Pine is doing Steve Trevor.
Yes, no, Chris Pine's definitely playing Steve Trevor.
That works.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Yeah. And, she posted this picture up. So I instantly reposted it on my Instagram. But then Joe sent it to me on Facebook, and I was like, you know what? There's a piece to be said about this. So I'm trying to pull together a couple of pictures of her as Wonder Woman, stuff that she's put out on Instagram, stuff that she said. I email him quickly. It was while he was typing up the Rhonda Rousey article that'll be posted on Saturday. And we got the piece, and he did a great job, and it got noticed. I think it's doing well, and
it's doing very well.
Thanks again, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, it's on I'm like perks. That's what I got.
This is what it's about. You do the work, and hopefully people notice. That's really what it's about. It's about doing the work and hoping people pick it up. Where are we? We're at today. We are doing decent. Hang on, refresher. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
we're good. We haven't beaten the week, but we're doing well.
Yeah, I know. I think we're doing very well. And Joe, I could say for the both of us that you kind of deserve a couple of props right now at the bottom.
Yeah. Wow. Look at that.
And just outside of that, no, you've really been killing it. We're all really happy with the work that you've been doing. The recaps alone for Gotham have provided me with a lot of relief where I get to focus on Supergirl and do that. And the fact that we have Field and Once Upon a Time, and the collaborations that we're doing with your whole Rhonda Rousey piece coming up on Saturday, I mean, that's great content. Really strong.
I got to interject here because I didn't know about the Once Upon a Time recaps until it popped up in my feed. Until the article went live, I'm like, oh, we're doing Once Upon a Time. Cool. My wife watches that. I can catch up now because I haven't watched that show since season.
This Sunday's a 2-hour thing, so it's going to be a lot to write.
What?
It's going to be a big one this weekend for Once Upon a Time. So 2 hours.
Good. It's a good show. I kind of fell out of. Steven will tell you that I watch stuff sporadically at best. I used to be a real big TV head, but there's no time. And anything in the 8 to 10 o'clock slots gets lost in the shuffle of trying to put kids to bed and trying to finish up the day's work.
Yeah.
Big shout out, Loop. I time shift, but I have so much backed up as it is. It's almost impossible to DVR stuff anymore. That's going to change though, because bought the new TV, so we'll see how that goes.
There you go.
Got new TV. We'll have to do like a night. We'll have to come and sit and watch some stuff because it should be ridiculous. It should be fun.
Okay. Man of Steel, Chuck. Man of Steel.
There you go. I'll pop that in. There you go. Still sitting on my desk. Is it here? Is it here? It's here somewhere, Steve.
A little side story for you, Joe, and for those that are watching. Again, we all know I'm a huge Man fan. So I gave Chuck about a month or two ago.
You're not a fan. You're a Superman nerd. Get it?
Exactly. No, you're right. So I let him borrow Man of Steel, the DVD, and I think it was going back definitely about a month or two ago. And
sitting next to my television, Joe. Get in there.
I'm gonna watch it. And
really am. My wife even wants to watch it. She wants to watch it with me. It's just fine. Oh, we lost Joe. He'll come back in.
I'm right here.
Oh, you're right there.
I can.
No video.
Again, Joe, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
I can't even kick you. You're not there to kick and reconnect. We'll see if you pop back up. But yeah, I mean, she wants to watch it with me.
There on the bottom. That's odd.
That is odd. We just lost video on Joe. Joe has not left the building. He's still with us. Don't worry, you'll hear him. Joe, say something to the fans. Gone. All right, Joe has dropped. All right, let me see some. Oh, I want to try something. This is if you see us staring at our screen strangely, realize that if you're seeing this after the live broadcast, you don't get to see a lot of the stuff that Blab gets you to do. There's a lot of extra stuff.
Okay.
Now you're a co-host now, so do you see the open seat lock seat?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, when I lock the seat, oh, you just opened it. All right, cool. So now I usually keep.
Joe's calling in, so yeah.
Oh, is he good? Get him in. Good. Okay. See, now I didn't see him call in. That's weird. Okay, cool. But that's So for the viewers, it's the Blab platform is all in browser, and it just it does the mixing for us, and it handles the video for us, which in one facet is great because we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But the flip side is we have very little control over what goes on while we're actually doing this. So it can be really smooth, or it can be like this, where we have a little picture of Joe blurred out, and it says poor internet signal and nothing else, which is lovely. Glad we're not interviewing him, because that would really suck right now. He's like the subject of an interview. What can we talk about? We have some convention stuff coming up, right, Steve? We got some stuff we're going to.
Convention stuff coming up, and do you want to talk about it? I feel like you know a little bit more about this.
About which one? About New Jersey Expo?
Yes. Yeah.
The Walker Store.
Well, I'll be honest. It's going to be smaller than Rhode Island, definitely. It's in New Jersey. I'm going to pull up the address right now. It's my problem is I can never remember where anything is.
The Meadowlands Exposition Center.
Is it? Okay. So, no. No.
Not Walker.
You think so?
Walker Stalker?
No, he's Joe. We're actually speaking in regards to a different show called New Jersey.
New Jersey Comic Expo is next 9 days from now, and it's at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center, which is actually in where the heck are you?
In regards to what Joe is speaking about, though, he's actually going to be attending the Walker Stalker Con, which is going to have a lot of people from The Walking Dead there, a lot of people from Gotham there, and I can't wait to see the photos that he gets and the coverage that he provides.
Where is it? That's at the center right in Secaucus?
That's the Meadowlands Exposition Center in Secaucus.
Yeah, that's a cool spot from what I understand. There's a Comic-Con that gets done there every year as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw
guys used to do Asbury do one there.
I saw the Gotham people, and actually I was by Steve's house Sunday, and I just typed it in. I don't know what I think I looked it up originally because I saw it on Facebook that Gotham was going to be there, like David and Ben, Aaron. Yeah. So I Googled it, and it came up Walker. I clicked on it. It wound up being like a Groupon ad. So I have Groupon, and I didn't know about this, which is cool. Yeah, because I keep getting emails about Groupon, like their Groupon bucks and rebates. I thought, how they sucker you into buying stuff. Sure. You get to pay for a membership or something. So I ignored all the email. So they had discount tickets for Walker Stalkers, $37. Like, hey, because I was showing Steve, I was showing the prices like a Stalker. It's ridiculous. I was saying for the price of like one VIP, I got the Power Rangers and Paige in Pittsburgh. Like, Margaritas. Like you saw it, Steve, how it was. Even by
I made a couple of really crude comments that aren't related to this, but maybe for 9Panel, my other podcast that I'm a part of.
But it does make sense because it is a very, very, very popular franchise. You know what I mean? It makes sense that they'll get the price. And that's unfortunately what Steve and I have been discussing a lot over the last couple of months is the way that Comic-Cons seem to have become more promoter-oriented in the fact that the promoters are trying to make the money. There are very few cons that are about conventions now. They're mostly about how much money can the promoter squeeze out of it. And that's the shame of it.
Of course.
In my day, the only one you thought of that way was Wizard. Wizard was the only convention that was just about money. Everything else kind of felt like, it was for the fans or it was for the art, it was for whatever. And slowly but surely you start to realize that almost none of them are. It's very rare to find one that isn't a money-making scheme. One of the ones that was the most depressing I found out about it was Mocha, which is the real artsy show that goes off in the city. And the reason why it was so disappointing was I found out that you only pay $5 to go into Mocha, but they have the most expensive tables of any con. So they charge absolutely the most they can for the people who show at Mocha. And that just it blew me away. It's like, I don't understand that. I don't understand ripping off the artists so that people can come in and stare at them like they're at the zoo. Because people don't even make that much money at Mocha. It's like one of those shows that it's an art show, in a lot of ways.
Right.
I think that's when I really started looking at what people were doing and how they were making their money. It's not cool. It's really not. That's why we're trying to look at more. That's why, Steve, I've been pointing us towards a lot of the smaller shows, because I think it is time to see if there are any shows out there that are just doing it for the love of the game, to get people out there to show off their stuff.
Yeah, well, I think really coming off of Rhode Island Comic Con, you know, being a part of whatyoureading.com, we have that opportunity to really cover as press several different shows, and the ability to really go out, you know, see what shows are all about. You know, it's really important. And you know, we came off of New York Comic Con this year. We did Rhode Island Comic Con. We're going into the New Jersey Comic Expo show in, I believe, 2 weeks. So to really go forward and to really look at like the different shows that are out there, it's definitely worth it. It really is.
Well, I think I told you when you first got on board.
Yeah.
When you first started writing for the site, I think I mentioned that some of the best books I've written about and some of the coolest artists and writers I met in shows like Asbury, where the first Asbury Comic Con was 35 tables. You know, it was in a bowling alley. And I met really cool people there that were doing the work and that were making books and that were selling books. And that's what I think the difference between like a Walker Stalker Con or even New York Comic Con and a place like Asbury is the fact that the people at these little teeny tiny shows tend to be the people making the books. They're really the people out there trying to make comics. I love when we're in New York Comic Con and you go over to the Boom Studios, you go over to Dynamite, you go over to those booths that are run by major publishers, and you throw your card in there and you're like, hey, thanks for the coverage of this. Then you talk about stuff and they try to give you a lot of stuff and it's fun. But it's still more fun when you turn the corner and you see this little three guys, and it's like you run into Wayward Raven. Mm-hmm. We're great guys. They make all the books themselves. They publish all the books themselves. They write. They do the art. They do the publicist. They have one of them is the publicist. I mean, these guys are making comics. That's what they're doing. And sure, you go to a comic shop and you see the Marvel shelf and the DC shelf, but you go to a con like you look for those guys in the convention and you'll find real comic books. You'll find comic books made by people who really love to make comic books. And it's kind of a shame because I know the guys that we know in the big companies love what they're doing, but do the big companies love doing it? I think that's the difference there. And I feel the same way about the shows. Do the big shows love putting on shows or they love making money from it? Because the little guys are putting on shows because they want to put on shows. We have a couple more coming up in New York in the next couple months. We have the one at the Borgata. We have the one we're gonna have what?
WinterCon in Resorts.
Yeah, the card's right. Actually, that card's right in front of me. WinterCon. We know the guys who run WinterCon. They're great guys, and they're like local, normal New York guys. We're just trying to get people together. We've got a LaGuardia hotel show coming up. That'll be like 15 tables. That'll have a lot of guys in it that are just doing the work.
Well, I know there's the wrestling one that Tommy's going to, the big event. That might be.
Where's that?
This weekend in the LaGuardia Hotel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's the same setup as WinterCon. They're using that same room probably. That's their showroom.
Oh, cool.
That should be cool. Is he going for anybody specific? Did he say who he's going to see?
I know he said he's going to be there with Royal, I believe. He said they're setting something up there.
God, you run these guys into the ground. Does anybody ever get to go anything for fun? Ever? Steven, as a matter of fact, Steven, I don't know if you caught the portent of the piece that I put up the other day. Well, I put it up this morning about the Secret Wars spoiler. Let me give you the background on this story, Joe, because I think you'll get a kick out of it. Steven may have told you. I'm asleep in bed, and my phone starts vibrating and like beeping at me. So I grab it because you never know what the hell it is, and it's an email from Bob Lazukas. Okay. All right, saying he's falling asleep, but he just finished reading Secret. It was Uncanny Avengers, and in this issue of Uncanny Avengers, spoilers, folks, spoilers. Uncanny Avengers, the most recent issue, Reed Richards dies.
Oh, no.
Dead.
What?
Dead.
Come on.
Reed Richards is dead. Now the problem is, as we all know, Secret Wars is still going on, and in Secret Wars, Reed Richards is very alive. But there's 2 books to go in Secret Wars. So why would you release Uncanny Avengers where you're talking about Reed being dead when you still have 2 books to go in a series where he's alive? What the hell are they thinking? But Bob caught. But the funny part about this is that Bob caught this, put 2 and 2 together, wrote a couple of paragraphs, emailed it to me because he was in bed asleep, and said, I can't put a piece together. Just try to get this out there. Now, if you've read the site, Joe, you know how many pieces Bob wrote, and he writes like 9,000 word pieces. I mean, this is what he writes really good stuff. But his his current job, shall we say, is literally sucking the life out of him, which you would think he's in the life now. Now he should be writing about comic books.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to work that way, do it? For some reason, when you work for that organization, you do nothing but work for that organization. And I've worked for many families in my life, but I never had one that took all my time, literally all my time. So yeah, we have to beat Bob back into the real world because he needs to write a little bit. The guy, how he put that together, like I could have read that book and I would have just said, oh, I must have picked him up out of sequence. You know what I mean? Like maybe this issue, like I would have just I wouldn't have even checked. I would have been like, oh, I guess he dies in the next book. But no, he picked up on the fact that they released this it's a complete bonehead move. Either they don't care because Secret Wars and Uncanny Avengers are doing horribly in sales, or they've just decided to do whatever the hell they feel like doing, like they usually do. My immediate supposition was, how long is he going to be dead? 5 minutes, 10, 15 maybe this time? Or will it be like Johnny Storm when he died on that planet and was back like the next issue, right? They left him out to dry, then started the series over, and there he was. I don't know. But I thought that was hysterical that this guy had to write me an email because he just doesn't have the time to write the list, to write the actual article. That one did well this morning, by the way.
Yeah.
That one did very well. I mean, I did kind of title it for that purpose. Secret Wars spoilers, that'll bring people in a little bit. I'm trying to find out right now what they say in the description for the rest of that issue, for the rest of Secret Wars. No, of that issue they don't mention it, but in other words, Uncanny Avengers doesn't mention anything about Richards. But I'm wondering what the solicits for the next two Secret Wars issues say. Like, do they say anything, even foreshadowing, or anything at all? Mm-hmm. It's just amazing. Have you guys been following it at all? Have you been reading any of this stuff? I know Steve doesn't read the Marvel stuff. What about you, Joe?
No, because I stopped because I feel like they just kept restarting, reboots, and it's just after a while, I'm like, really,
But you know why? Wow, that was a good echo. The reason why they keep starting it over again is because they have found, and this is what Image, Valiant, and Action Lab have taken advantage of. They found that number ones, even if they release new number ones every month, will still outsell a number 2 or a number 3.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, in an unbelievable amount. Like, it's just ridiculous how much a number 1 will outsell everything else. So this is the reason why Action Lab does miniseries, because they know they're starting over every time. This is the reason why Dynamite's kind of moving. Everybody's moving in that direction slowly but surely. Marvel is just so entrenched in their numeric idea, their ongoing series idea, that they just won't break away from it and start doing sort of like maybe more like Hellboy did, where it's an arc and we just cap that arc and we call it that. I never understood why Marvel didn't get it, considering they were like the mini and maxi series imprint from the 80s through the 90s. That's all they did was miniseries and maxi series everywhere you looked. I still think one of the highest resale value miniseries out there is probably Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
F4 issue. That's still the book everybody wants to buy, that miniseries, even though you can get it in almost every store, and you still pay like a premium for it.
Wow.
Which is amazing to me. Why can't we just grab that and trade and just stop buying the actual issues? They have that in Royal behind the counter, right, Steve? They still have a couple of those?
They do, I believe. Yeah.
That's now. Do either of you guys own that series? Because you're like 10 years younger than me.
I have the trade of it. I don't have the individual issue.
Yeah,
but that's not your guy.
I was always more of a Cyclops guy. So.
Oh God, that's so obvious just by talking to you. Joe, back me up, Joe.
No,
yeah.
Come on, this kid's Cyclops all day, every day. Come on now.
Who's your favorite, Joe? I mean, we both grew up with the animated series on Fox. Definitely all had our favorites.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Mine was always Wolverine.
Who was that lineup in the animated series?
It was Jean, Cyclops, Wolverine, Rogue, Gambit. Okay. Jean and Cyclops, Gambit and Rogue.
Yeah.
Storm, Wolverine.
Jubilee was in that,
Jubilee, yes.
Yeah, and Beast.
Beast, yeah, and Beast is in there. Then this guy, Morph, but like they kill him off, I think.
Morph, no.
Yeah, yeah,
Colossus, Nightcrawler?
Nightcrawler and
I think later on.
Yeah, I know. I had a tape from like the '80s, like with when they introduced Kitty Pryde and they had the Dazzler.
Yeah, the initial lineup in season 1 was just like you said. It was Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue, Xavier, and Beast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Morph was in the first episode in the 2-parter. The Sentinels got him. Wolverine was pissed at Cyclops because he felt like he left him behind. And and Wolverine in almost every episode would say, "I'll go where I want to go."
Yeah,
and stuff
that's
like that.
I actually have the DVDs. Like they had those like that volumes of DVDs. I have them, so I have the entire '90s series.
Oh God.
You know, Joe, we should one of these days. We should rewatch those.
Yes.
And we should talk about them. I think there's a lot that we could say about that.
Oh, definitely.
See, I grew up on that. I grew up on that '80s X-Men, that Claremont X-Men run. That was that's my seminal. That's what I grew up on as comic books. I didn't read. I was a light fan of Spider-Man, and I read some Batman back then. But my book was X-Men, and it was that crew. It was it's funny because we all, who's your favorite X-Men, and I always had two. There were always two, and it was always Kurt and Wolverine, always, because I wanted to be Wolverine, but I felt like I was Kurt. And that's, I think a lot of guys had that problem where we felt like Kurt, like the outsider, like the geek, like the nerd, but we wanted to be the outside geek nerd who killed everybody, and we just couldn't be. So we all felt like Kurt.
And then Hugh Jackman came around and
he just revived the heart, like.
And then you really knew you weren't Wolverine.
You have to admit, though, in the movie, making Alan Cumming play Kurt was a good fit. It's just the movie wasn't that great.
No,
you know what I mean. But he played it really well.
X-Men was considered the best of that.
I mean,
not to an X-Men fan. I'm sorry, X-Men. The first movie was probably the best.
I agree with that.
It was what we wanted it to be.
That I agree.
See, the
X-Men one is
the
still
third
one.
One, the third one was all right. The third,
is that the one where they go back in time?
No, the third one was the.
That was the last one.
I saw the last one. Yeah, I saw the one with that one was the last one wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. I didn't see the third one. I saw the second one. I don't think I saw the.
Yeah, the third one's
the first movie was exactly what we wanted it to be. It really was.
The third one, it was good, but that disappointed me. How they just kind of like shoved the Phoenix into a 2-hour movie and just like, all right, here's what happens.
Yeah.
The cartoon did it the best.
You have to admit, like, it's kind of odd. If you look back, you would have thought that the casting decisions they made would have sort of made more lasting ripples over that series. Kelsey Grammer was like, where do you come up with that? Alan Cumming, how do you get him in a superhero movie? Yeah. Like, if he made a superhero movie now, it'd be like, oh my God, he's making a superhero. Back then, nobody even noticed.
Yeah,
so, check it out.
I never knew who he was.
You know who he was?
Not back then, no.
Oh, I did. I had already seen him on Broadway. Are you kidding me? He's one of my favorite plays. Right. He's and if you ever saw My Best Friend's Wedding, no, wasn't it was Circle of Friends, right? The Irish movie.
He was also in Goldeneye.
Yeah, that's true.
Pierce Brosnan and James Bond.
Yeah, but yeah, he's one of those actors that now you would be like, oh my God, is he? Yeah, he did Cabaret for years.
Yeah,
and he was extremely famous for Cabaret, and it's one of those things that like, oh my God, a Broadway actor is playing a purple guy who poofs in and out of scenes. But no one noticed. No one cared back then for some reason. It's interesting to me that we make such a big deal about it now when we're so entrenched in it now. Yeah. And back when superhero movies were an outlier, nobody really cared. Like nobody.
X-Men. That was the first real delve into a long-term comic book movie franchise.
Yeah. Well, Superman.
All right. Yeah. That's...
Batman. Schumacher's Batman.
Okay.
I think the idea that Joe's making that you had Superman, which came first, and then you had Batman, which came in '89. But X-Men 2000, the Bryan Singer film, that was the first one which kind of reopened it in like a modern context where we were looking at comic book based films in a more realistic way. And I don't think it was until
the first franchise that didn't have
where he perfected that. But Bryan Singer was definitely onto something with the first X-Men.
And they didn't that franchise didn't have roots in TV or film to be. I mean, all Batman movies are remakes because Batman was a serial, and all Superman movies were remakes because Superman was a serial. These are not, these are not characters that had never been seen before. X-Men were characters that had never been seen on the screen before, except animated, and that's amazing. Even Spider-Man. I mean, for you guys probably don't have the same appreciation of Spider-Man I do in a way because he was on the Electric Company. What?
He had the '60s show, then he was on the Electric Company.
Exactly.
He had the live action show that lasted for maybe a couple episodes.
Same thing with the Hulk. Like the Hulk, seeing the Hulk on the big screen was great, but I had history with the Hulk. I mean, I watched him every time. That was a series I watched broadcast. I watched it. It was appointment television. So, the X-Men was that thing that growing up, you'd go like, oh, they're never going to do this. There's no way they could do that. There's no way they could get all these characters with all these different power sets and put them on screen at the same time. And they freaking pulled it off. They really pulled it off.
In back in the Superman, it was just Superman. Then Batman was just Batman. Like X-Men now, it went into X-Men. Then it went into Spider-Man. Then it went into, all these different, now it's the Iron Man and the Avengers. That's what I was saying, how the X-Men franchise changed. Like Steve was saying, how they made them more realistic, and now it branched out. Like Superman, that was it. It was just Superman. Christopher Reeve, Superman. That's it. We leave that alone. Batman was Michael Keaton. Okay, we leave that alone. Now we're going into all these different ones. It's like, wow, X-Men did great. Let's work on Spider-Man now. Spider-Man did great. Let's do Daredevil. How now so what I meant to say was X-Men made that boom into the modern comic book movie.
Actually, it was Blade.
Well,
now I have a question on a similar topic to do with how the movies affect things. Tony Stark stands up at a press conference and says, "It's me. I'm Iron Man." Right?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. The room explodes. People taking pictures. They all run into the phone booths. They're all calling their editors. I've got the biggest news ever. Oh my God! People put their press hats on the face. Doesn't this sort of invalidate the whole need for guys like Bruce Wayne to be seen as needing a secret identity?
Yes and no.
What? Yes and no?
Yes and no. I feel that Iron Man and what Jon Favreau and with the people behind Iron Man 2008, Iron Man 1, they really changed the game and how you can do superhero movie. Because if you look at that, Iron Man was the first, I'd say, legitimate film, like an actual film. Because prior to that, we just had 2005's Batman Begins, and 2008 Iron Man came out in May, then Dark Knight came out in July. And we hadn't really seen at that point contextual material being taken as seriously as they were handling it. But with Tony Stark, with the whole I am Iron Man, everybody knows that he's the guy. I kind of felt like it was them basically saying, look, there's only so much that works with the material, with the source material. Whereas you look at someone like Batman, who's now been around for 76 years, there's too much of an iconography and mythology that comes with that, and it just lends itself to being handled differently. I think with just about any other character, like with Green Lantern, you did a really, for as much as people give problems to Green Lantern, there was a really terrific moment in the movie where Green Lantern shows up at Ferris Aircraft, and he's talking to Carol, and he's got the whole costume on, and she's looking at him, and he's trying to disguise his voice, and she's like, "Hal, is that you?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "No, I've seen you naked. I know that's you." And then
the mask comes off. Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, and the following scene, then they're just sitting together, and he's in the suit and he's talking to her, and I was like, it really sucks because Green Lantern did really special things with a superhero movie that you just don't see being done. And because the movie took so much heat, it's little moments like that somehow get lost. So yeah, in respects to your question, in respects to the idea that you presented, I do agree with you in certain respects that did change the game, but only for certain characters. I feel like other characters, there's too much of a weight that comes with them.
See, now I agree with the fact that it's certain characters, but I agree for a different reason, and that's my brain stays firmly in the fiction aspect of it, because the whole argument has always been, I have to maintain a secret identity for safety or for this or for that. And I never believed that with Superman, because the fact is he's so he has nothing to fear from anyone. You know what I mean? Like, him needing a secret identity is a joke. The man doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to sleep. He doesn't. No one's going to take him.
His mom and dad, though, Martha and Jonathan Kent.
And you know what? Again, the president has family. Putin has family. Bin Laden had family. It didn't matter how. If the fact is, you can protect your family. But for Bruce Wayne, the real problem is that what he does is illegal. Batman is not a good guy. Batman's a vigilante. He's completely unsanctioned. So once Bruce Wayne says, "I'm Batman," and this is what I don't remember if they went after this in the Iron Man movies, but Bruce Wayne would literally be in litigation for the rest of his life.
Oh, really? I mean, are you kidding? Iron Man 2 is the whole Senate hearing.
I turned off Iron Man 2 the minute that, watch my language, the minute Whiplash hit the track and started breaking things, I literally reached over and turned off the movie and never turned it back on.
Yeah, but that
was the worst scenery chewing bullshit I had ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
the most horribly written scene I had ever seen in my life. First of all, let me just no. You know what? This is a tangent. I'm going there. He comes to a race to kill Tony Stark, right? Tony Stark was not scheduled to race in that race. Tony Stark wasn't even supposed to be there, but this guy shows up. No, he had nothing. He got in the car for no reason. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to be on the track. But this idiot is already on the track with his whips. It's bullshit. It's a complete plot hole the size of the friggin' Holland Tunnel. And the acting was horrible. And the whole, oh my God, it was the first time in my life I wanted to punch a television. Oh my God. And I love Iron Man, but I wanted to throw my
Joe.
Okay.
Joe, do you remember when Matt Lauer and Tom Cruise did their interview for War of the Worlds, and Tom Cruise had to shut up Matt Lauer because Matt Lauer was going on about whatever it was that he was going on about, and Tom Cruise was like,
Matt Lauer, you're Tom Cruise?
Yeah. Chuck.
Yes.
You're
yes. What?
I don't agree with that.
I know. Oh, but I'm sorry. As a writer, you have to agree with that. That was just a horrible scene. Horrible.
I'll say this.
Go back and read it, and then come out of the comic book movie and look at the scene. Garbage.
There were all right. Joe, we'll get to you in a second with this. Iron Man 2, I'm a huge fan of 1, 2, and 3, especially 1, 2. Justin Theroux, who's probably more known now for, I think, being married to Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
People forget he was in Mulholland Drive. He was the villain in Full Throttle. He's mainly a screenwriter. This guy is a writer. That's what he does. The acting's only really something that he does secondary. So the backstory is Theroux wrote Tropic Thunder. He's friends with Robert Downey, and then Robert Downey turned around and offered him the opportunity to write Iron Man 2. So Theroux does Iron Man 2, and he turns in the script, and the script basically is exploring the themes of legacy, of like duty, it was really exploring the whole idea of like Robert Oppenheimer post the atom bomb, where he did that famous speech where he said, "I've become the destroyer of man," where he's looking at his life post, making this huge world-changing accomplishment, and looking at his legacy thinking, like, wait a second, is this good? Did I just do something that's going to really affect the world in a bad way?
He actually references colleagues.
Yeah, so making it in a comic book way. The whole idea is Tony's known for weapons. He just announced himself as Iron Man. He's trying to do right by himself. He's trying to really do as much as he can as a hero, but he's unsanctioned. The government's looking at his equipment where it's like, okay, what you're doing, we really have to like get involved with this. So the whole idea is like Tony fighting the Senate, and in the midst of fighting the Senate, Ivan Vanko, who's also dealing with the ideas of legacy, his father's Anton, who worked with Howard on the arc reactor project, feels that Tony almost is living this whole legacy, like where he's like sitting on this whole crown of lies and wants to come after him. There's a lot to be said about that. But so Thoreau had this whole idea planned for the movie that Marvel kind of really reshuffled and re-edited just so they could essentially use Iron Man 2 as a way to shoehorn in this idea that the Avengers initiative is coming. That's why a lot of like the Black Widow stuff, a lot of the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff really felt a little forced and a little unnecessary. And there are a lot of moments in Iron Man 2 that seem really good, but then there's a lot of moments that seem really bad. I stand by Thoreau's original vision. I stand by Iron Man 2. I really like it because I feel it's more of a Favreau movie than the first one. What they did with it, especially in regards to Tony Stark and exploring his whole dilemma and even Whiplash. I'm right, you're wrong. Wrestling's real.
Wow.
Well, again, Iron Man 1 was the perfect film.
Yeah.
In my opinion. As superhero films go, Iron Man 1 was the perfect
definitely.
film. I've never watched a superhero film that I enjoyed as much as that movie. Believe it or not. And I've
Batman Begins, because Batman Begins came out 2005. You had
I know, but
3 years later.
I don't. Again, for that one, believe it or not, and you'll hate me for it, but it was performances that just left me like whatever. I really the actors didn't. No, not in the least.
But it was like, look at the bill. And Christian Bale, you go up. Michael Caine, you go up. Liam Neeson, you go up. Gary Oldman. It's like a roster of
Gary Oldman, I'd watch read. Michael Caine and Gary Oldman, I'd watch read shopping lists. Literally, I'd watch them sit and talk about their shoe sizes. Both of them are amazing.
Right.
Bale does nothing for me at all. As a hero, as an actor, as a
hero.
As a hero, not at all.
Not even as an American Psycho.
Well, yeah, great film. 15 years ago, you know what I mean? Machinist, great film. Again, 15 years ago. That's about, did he need to be Batman? Probably not. You know what I mean? We could have done better. We could have done a lot better. I don't do the casting thing. Like, I don't know enough actors that I care about that I would sit around and say who belongs in a role. But it just honestly, and I went in there completely, eyes wide open, ready to watch it. I was enjoying it. It just I didn't walk out going, wow, it was great. I was like, okay, all right.
I saw Batman Begins 10 times in the movie theater. And the only other movie that I saw 10 times was The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. And I think I saw Man of Steel 9 times. I'm looking to beat that with Batman versus Superman.
I've never gone to a movie in a movie theater more than twice, nor would I. There's no way I would spend that much money to go to a movie theater more than twice for a movie. That makes no sense to me. There's like literally no good reason. I just can't. I can't. There's no way. Like there's just that to me. There's so many other things that you could do with those 8 to 9 other times. So many other movies you could see. So many other things you could do. Go pick a flower. Sit in a park somewhere, brother. That's.
But back then, the movie tickets were still like $10.
Exactly.
That's
you spent $90
on one movie.
I saw Spectre this morning for $6.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah, that was the way I saw. Trainspotting. I saw Trainspotting for like $4 around the corner from you. Up, what was it? The Cinemark at the time. Yeah. We walked out of Barnes and Noble on lunch hour and didn't come back for 3 hours. Good movie though. Damn good movie. I'm not a fan of Bale as Batman at all. It's a taste thing.
But we not to agree that Ben Affleck's going to be a definitive Batman on.
That's like saying who's your favorite Bond? We all have one. You know what I mean? Nobody tops Sean Connery for me. No one ever will.
Well, for me, my favorite Batman is Ben Affleck. He's my favorite.
See, I could never say that. I haven't seen him as Batman. I've seen clips. And we know clips don't mean nothing.
It's not about
clips. Clips are way too subjective.
You're talking to the guy that tried to start the Ben Affleck fan club in my freshman year of high school.
From what film?
I was just trying to say I've been a huge Affleck guy. I was a fan of him during the days of like Geely and Man About Town, which was a direct-to-DVD movie.
Armageddon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Armageddon, Forces of Nature. Yeah, all of that stuff. Bounce.
Armageddon was great. Armageddon was ridiculous.
What was Matt Damon? He with the Angels. What was it?
Dogma.
Wait, Dogma? Dogma, the Kevin Smith film. That was a great movie.
Yeah.
That's one I own. That's worth watching more than once. That's probably my favorite Kevin Smith film, believe it or not. That's probably my favorite.
Mallrats is my favorite.
I lived Mallrats. You have to remember I was there for Mallrats. Like that came out when I was in the right age group. That's a good movie.
Joe Meyer basically like Brody and the other guy. His name.
We're Jay.
Mallrats.
We're Jay.
Was that
Bob.
Wait a second. Mallrats was 91. When was it?
Easy. Early.
When was Mallrats? When did it come out?
Hold on.
95. Oh my God. Yeah, I was already 25 when Mallrats came out. So for me, my Mallrats would have been probably like our ridiculous over and over viewings, repeat viewings of Animal House was probably my Mallrats. Like that was the movie that we connected with as kids, and that was the movie we watched over and over and over again. That was our like. Yeah,
I love Animal House. It's a great movie.
These guys are us. You know, these guys who we're going to be when we grow up. You know. Yeah, definitely. That was ours. That was our Mallrats. That was our like touchstone for most of my guys. I'm still working on becoming Eric Stratton. I'll get there.
Yeah, I'm glad to meet you.
I'll get there. I've been there. It's a very short time in your life that you can be that. Very short time.
Right now, me and Steve are Joseph Gordon-Levitt in 500 Days.
Yeah, Trump. Yeah.
Oh God. All right. So I know that I'm that the Batman versus Batman v Superman. What's it? Give me the full title for a second.
Dawn of Justice.
Say it for me one time, Steve.
Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Dun dun.
Complete with the visual aid.
Stop. I expect like Vincent D'Onofrio and what was Jack, the actor who played Jack on Law and Order. Come on, I expect to see them walking down the hall. Sam Waterston and D'Onofrio, and it sounds like a freaking Law and Order spinoff. It really does. It just sounds, oh God.
Chris Maloney was in Man of Steel.
Yeah, he was the Air Force captain, whatever. Yeah,
mixed it all together. See, they were writing a Law and Order episode. They put superheroes in it.
But hey, he kamikazed the alien ship, though. You got to give him that much.
Joe, did you hear that? I have no choice. I have to go see Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
I was told by Steven, I have no choice. I must go. I would have waited for DVD.
Yeah, Chuck.
He wasn't gonna let you.
And not this time.
No, I mean, like we're gonna do like a great piece for it. We're gonna have a real voice.
Okay.
I mean, hey, Gal Gadot favorited my tweet. I have an in.
You gotta go. You just gotta.
I'm in.
Well, Joe, you're doing the set visit on next week, right?
I gotta say, the best thing about that is the fact that like you're not even writing for the site a week, and somehow your tweet gets favorited. Not the. How did you? That's why I'm asking. You like stalking her or something?
No,
like,
I just tagged her. Like usually I could I'll tag the main character, but no one responds. This one like I had to look at my phone. I'm like, wait.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh man.
That really is cool, Joe. Joe had great success. Joe's been writing Gotham on our site, all the recaps, and so he has a relationship with a lot of the different fan sites and everything. So his Gotham recaps, they're great, solid stuff. He's only been getting better, and yeah, he's currently working on, and it's kind of tagging back to what you were saying before, Chuck, about how you never really played like the whole casting game, like, oh, this person would be good for this person would be good for that. Yeah. So a couple of days ago, Joe and I figured that it would be quite timely to write up a piece about Rhonda Rousey, especially with UFC 195 this Saturday. So the whole premise is the top 5 comic book characters, superheroes that Ronda Rousey could potentially play if they ever bring them to the big screen. Namely, one of them also kind of tying into the whole Gal Gadot Wonder Woman thing that we just wrote about. Maybe there's a character or two from Wonder Woman that she might be able to play. So that's going to be coming up on Saturday. Joe wrote up the whole piece. He named some pretty cool characters, and whatchyourreading.com, look for that on Saturday right before UFC 195. That's what Joe has coming out, and hopefully one of the suggestions that he made in regards to who should be cast as will come true.
What you have any big articles coming up this week? Anything you want to stump for? What do you got going? Anything good? Anything I don't know about? Steve?
Oh, me?
Yeah. Well, you just gave us Joe's.
Aside from my review, my recaps, you're.
Well, Joe, before I go into my thing, how about you want to talk about that a little bit? You want to mention anything in regards to the Wonder Woman thing, the Ronda Rousey, without giving any spoilers away? Just maybe why people should check that out.
Oh well, because it's Ronda Rousey. Like she's gotten so much. No, it's true. Like you mentioned her name, like as you could say, the phones light up, quote unquote. Like look at the piece we just put out already. Like with Ronda Rousey, how many likes it got within like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, no, she's definitely a hot topic at the moment. Do you really see her winding up at anything?
I think eventually she will. All right, cool. Steve, I get the props. I know. I see the props going up. Well, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's not because I'm sure you've all heard the rumors about Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Which I think, but I think she'd be fitted for a Wonder Woman movie. Like
heard the rumors about that.
By the way, hang on a second. Let's go back to that Captain Marvel thing because
Captain Marvel rumors about this, Chuck.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, let's go back to the Captain Marvel bit for a second because Rousey got a little bit of heat a couple of months ago, was it maybe 2 months ago, because she made a comment that was taken completely out of context. She essentially said that it wasn't fair to put her in the ring with a trans fighter, a man transitioning to a woman, because when men train as men, their metabolism is different. They pack muscle on differently. They are inherently stronger by size. And whether or not that person had gone through surgeries to become a woman, their body did not train as a woman. It trained as a man with male hormones and male, And unfortunately, because she made the mistake of saying anything, that's not in the popular zeitgeist, people jumped all over her for that. So now I wonder, would that sort of ruin her chances of ever getting a Captain Marvel movie because of the fact that Captain Marvel has kind of been picked up by a certain slice of the population. And it's championed by a very large contingent of feminist sites and writers. Will they kind of block that because of what they see as an insensitivity? Could you see that being a problem in the future for her on something like that?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so, no. Because reality, she's a celebrity, and yeah. I've heard celebrities say far worse things and get better. So, you know what it is? It's just when you're in that spotlight, whether you're an athlete, celebrity, someone's always going to be critical. Someone's always going to take your words wrong for their cause, or just because they don't like you. Oh, I don't think so.
Right.
Did you see what goes on in Hollywood? You see what goes on in Hollywood all the time with this stuff, and some of it, yes, they step on toes, on whether they want to or not. But then other times, it's just people, taking things wrong. Especially like me and Steve were saying about our podcast, how on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like see how we're talking, like you hear our tone of voice. You don't get that on social media. You're just seeing words.
Mm-hmm.
So she could have meant it as something completely different from what you would say it as, or that's why I don't really see it being a problem. And it hasn't been a really big topic because this is the first time I've actually heard about it. So I can't see it ruining anything for her.
Well, that's what I worry about. See, that's the kind of the thing I worry about because it made a very large ripple when it happened for like a couple of days, like those things do. But whenever something like that makes a ripple, and there are articles written about it, or there are things said about it on the webs, as it were, that's the stuff that comes back to haunt you when an announcement is made, or when, when somebody says, oh, she's being considered for this. All of a sudden, all those little pieces that no one saw the first time get slapped up all over the place. And I worry about that for people. We've all seen way too many potential stars kind of blow it, or at least miss opportunities, you know what I mean, because of things. Breaks my heart, breaks my heart for somebody who's really just speaking about fighting.
What was it? Actually, it was on 9/11. I forgot what actor it was. He had like an Italian last name. He made a comment about 9/11 that almost ruined him.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. It was
was it Buscemi? No, it wasn't Steve Buscemi.
No, it was I don't know if he was on Entourage or he was on one of those type shows. Like an Italian name. He made like a tweet about 9/11, like on the anniversary.
Yeah.
And it really like messed him up. Forgot his name.
It does happen. It just happens.
And look at Ariana Grande with the whole "I Hate America" thing with the donut or whatever she made.
Because that wasn't out of context at all.
But she got for a while, like, with
no, that's what I'm saying. It was obviously out of context, but didn't matter. You know what I mean?
No.
We get a soundbite and we run with it.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
I mean, we're all in the nature of reporting, of writing, and it's something that, I think, especially in like if you look at reviews or even just like offering our commentary on anything, we're so much more aware of what we're going to say, and we have to be a little more careful now about what we say, especially because if you're using a social platform like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even you're speaking in conversation with someone, there's a lot of relationships that you're building. There's a lot of people that, of course, will naturally just not like you for you or for what you lean towards. That's why, I feel that one of the strongest parts about what you're reading, and especially about everything that we do, we've maintained not an anonymity, but like an evenness. We talk about what we like, but we keep it about what we like, and we never make anything political. We never make anything religious. Not that doesn't necessarily have a place within what we're writing about, but for the most,
I danced on the edge of that with the Lumberjanes piece. When Lumberjanes first came out, very innocuous. First issue. Lumberjanes is a book by Boom Studios about a bunch of girls at an all-girl summer camp. And it's a good book. It's I think it's not an all ages, but it's a young reader. Like it can go below tween. I don't know if I'd consider it all ages because there is some violence and some fantasy stuff that might be a little much. But what I noticed was, without any overt scripting to this effect, it felt like the book was moving towards a specific agenda. I'm a father of a 9-year-old, and when I read the book, I didn't make a decision as to whether or not I was going to hand the book to my daughter, but I remembered the moment where I started to think about that decision, if that makes any sense. Like, as I was reading it, I was like, wow, is this a book I'll give to my daughter? And I had to actually think about it. I actually had to stop and say, I see what's being suggested in the book without saying it. I have to think about that. And I wrote that in my review. I wrote in my review that it was interesting to me because it brought things to the forefront that I might not have been ready to talk about. And would that stop me from handing her the book? It didn't stop me from handing her the book because I trust my daughter and I trust her to make her own decisions in life, and I just have to be there to support her. But the fact that it brought something to mind in that vein kind of challenged my liberal, leanings. It challenged my my preconceptions, and I wanted to talk about that. But I got to tell you, writing that review scared the hell out of me, because I knew if I framed it in any way that came off as if I wasn't completely accepting of everything in the world, I could scuttle my entire website. I could put myself in a position where people would just brand me as something, and that would be it.
You'd be hung from the gallows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing that I didn't censor myself. I wrote the piece. But for a couple of minutes, I wondered if I was going to, as well as the decision I was making about whether or not my daughter was going to see that book. I was also thinking, do I even say anything to anyone? Because, it's much easier to just say, I'll review something else. But I'm glad. I actually got a lot of good feedback from that article. I got a lot of positive feedback, and that's kind of where I was just going, Steve. I want to stay even, and I want to stay fair, and I don't really want to be political, and I don't want to be a social justice warrior. But if there's something that I think I should say, I got to say it, because even if people hate me for it, I got to say it.
Right.
You know, I'd rather be honest than edited, I guess. I'd rather be honest than safe, maybe.
No, I understand. Yeah.
I think that's why this platform is so nice, because you do tend to say things without getting a chance to do 6 rewrites. You know, I don't know how often you hit the backspace key, but it's probably the key I hit the most when I write reviews. Every 500-word review is probably a 1,500-word review that I've edited down just a little bit, you know, right? Because you write stuff and you go, no, that's not how that should sound. No, that's not how that should sound. Over and over again. But you don't have that ability here. You can try to do a redirect, but what you say, and that calls right back to the Rhonda Rousey thing. It's the thing she said that was labeled as transphobic was in an interview like 2.5 years ago on camera and out of context. So this was something she said to someone in passing almost, and it was brought back up 2 years later by a very trendy site, let's say. And it was really hammered into the ground. I just emailed you the piece, Steve. I don't have Joe's email in front of me. Don't say it on here, but I'll get your email. I'll send it to you as well. It's an interesting piece. And did you open it, Steve? Did you open the email?
Yeah, I'm going to send it to Joe now.
See where the piece came from? Let's not even mention the site, because we don't talk about the site.
Yeah. Joe, but yeah. It just, when you get the chance, you can read it. Again, you know.
But that's the kind of stuff I worry about, because that's the kind of stuff that can hurt somebody who shouldn't be hurt.
Well, no, it could, but you know, it's interesting in regards to something like that, because I think like the bigger thing at hand, which is probably the less real of the matter, is that I think it calls into question more so, you know, would Marvel Studios be willing to use a major character that they're going to probably treat as a tentpole character on someone like Rhonda Rousey? Would they want someone like her to play it, or would it be somebody else in regards? Well,
I guess we'll have to read. First, we have to read Joe's piece and see who he thinks she'd even fit into before we could say would they risk it. Because sometimes
would they risk it all?
Well, no, seriously. Because sometimes the studio will pick a controversial actor because it works for the character. You know, I think David Tennant's upcoming role was very well orchestrated. I think he's the exact guy to put in that role because he's so well loved. Let's make them hate him. Let's see if they'll hate him. You know, let's see if this guy who's like everybody's teddy bear can be the bad guy.
We've spoken about this, but Joe, little thing. It's been a topic of conversation between Chuck and I that we've just.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, while he's laughing away, the comedian about the 9/11 tweet, that was Steve Rannazzisi.
Okay.
When he said like he was trapped in the towers, then like a few days later he's like,
yeah. Then it turns out he wasn't even there. Yeah. Yep.
Like
yeah.
So like that's like a good example. Like, and even Hulk Hogan, like how he said like
oh my god, perfect example.
Or like 20 years ago, like they erased him from WWF's memory. Like he's.
You know what's so funny about the Hogan thing? What's specifically funny about the Hogan thing is, who really thought this guy was like a golden child? Like, who thought like, hey, that's a guy I want to invite to dinner? Like, who thought this was the guy? Like, I don't get that. Like, who thought he was
buy the whole take your vitamins and say your prayers?
Yeah, like, this is the guy I want to introduce to my grandmother. Really? No, you freaking lunatic. What are you? Of course he said stupid stuff half his career. Almost everything that came out of his mouth was moronic. But you worry about this one comment? I don't know.
But also, too, it was the 80s, you know, it was the feel-good American hero, the Cold War, blah, blah, you know. So, I guess you had to take, like you said, in the context and time, like.
Well, that's, again, I mean, we could do an hour on context. If you actually saw the Tom Cruise moment where he jumps on the couch, if you actually saw that, not the videos everybody has seen or the GIFs, it was not what people made it out to be.
No, not at all.
No.
In fact, he was quite uncomfortable in that moment, and Oprah was kind of pushing him.
Absolutely. Yeah, she was
one.
Yeah.
But it's portrayed as him being a complete lunatic and just jumping around. But it's all context. You know, I mean, unfortunately, and that hurt him for a while. That made him look like a nut.
No, easily. And I mean, you know, like what I'll get in on this. I mean, Joe.
I didn't pick him by accident, Steve.
I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. I've been, again, you know, probably a big Tom Cruise fan for just as long as I've been a Ben Affleck fan, and so I was really following that whole time. That was right when he was getting ready to promote War of the Worlds, and I saw the whole falling out that he had with, I think, Summer Redstone at Paramount, where they essentially fired him, and the whole Mission franchise even looked like it was going to go up in the air. But and it's something that I spoke about a few months ago with Michelle, actually, at Royal. There were a lot of things that were said and done during that whole period which were grossly taken out of context. And again, the media likes you one day, they don't like you the next day, and it's a really fickle place. But yeah, like what you said, for anybody that watched that interview live, as I remember, coming home from school, and it was like at like 3 o'clock or 4, like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I remember sitting at my kitchen table.
Probably watched the replay on TV 55.
I remember excited to see that interview coming home from school. I think my mom even recorded it on the VCR for me. And so, yeah, I remember watching that and seeing how they kind of really started to, especially that was like really like kind of like where like the internet was really starting to take control, where people were doing like GIFs and stuff like that. It was really unfortunate the way that happened, because I think more people today that didn't, I guess, experience that live or weren't really around for that kind of associate him with that behavior, where for those like us that actually saw it happen, it's kind of like what you said, and it's not even saying anything bad about Oprah, but she definitely did egg him on with that, and it was definitely more of like trying to goad him into kind of like giving her a reaction like that, and it was in.
Well, I think the best part of the whole thing, the one part I really remember, is she's pushing him about Kidman, right? No, was it Kidman? She was pushing him about you. Do you love this woman?
Katie
kind
Holmes.
of thing. Yeah, it wasn't Katie Holmes at the time. Yeah, and she says, "Well, are you going to marry her?" And he says something like, "I should probably talk to her about that," which was a brilliant response.
Yeah.
Which was essentially, shut up. You know what I mean? But you can't say shut up to Oprah, which was just brilliant. He really did turn it on her. And it actually endeared him to me in that moment, like seeing that as a full video. Because what else are you going to say to this woman besides, you're overstepping your bounds, ass? Back the hell up, right? Like, how do you tell her, like, there is some private life here, jerk?
I wish you could see me right now, but...
What?
Joe.
What?
The Saw.
Oh, yeah. Saw. Oh. He hasn't seen that YouTube video, has he?
No, what's the Saw?
They made a thing called Tom Cruise is My Roommate. They get these, it's like a YouTube, it's just an independent little YouTube video. These two guys film, and they get a guy that supposedly looks like Tom Cruise.
Okay, supposedly.
And he doesn't really look like Tom Cruise. He imitates him very well.
Yeah. And of course, they make him just like a complete psychopath. And again, and the running joke is him jumping on all their couches. Like you see them. Oh, we gotta get a new couch. It's Tom ruined the old one. I like this couch. And again, and like the Saw, like the karate chop of him as being an action hero, like they just lampoon them. And
oh man! Again, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I worry.
They lampoon Cruise in the way that they play up that he's like a psycho. But again, it's essentially a response to the way like the media kind of has him presented now. And hey, Rogue Nation, a huge movie. A lot of people went to see it. A lot of people loved it. So.
It was good.
But he could weather it. And even then he could weather it. He was big enough then that it really wasn't going to crush him. But for smaller people, for smaller actors, for smaller celebrities, that kind of stuff is rough. And I think that's one of the reasons why, calling back to what you said about being even-handed and not being political and stuff, that's kind of part of our mandate as well with reviewing stuff. I never have a problem saying I didn't like a book, or I didn't find a book interesting, or I didn't find it to be the best book. But you never attack a writer on any other, or artist on any other level than this wasn't for me, or I really didn't get anything out of this. I've seen reviews that, oh my God, who these people think they are, amazes me, the way they speak about stuff. There's so much good stuff out there, movies, TV, books, comics, podcasts, YouTube videos. If you can really spend your time beating up stuff, if that's really how you want to spend your time, I feel bad for people like that. The people who had to make that Tom Cruise gif over and over again and post it everywhere. And why? Like, what is that? What are you getting out of that? What's it doing for you? There's nothing better than finding a great piece of something and sharing it with everybody else.
Yeah.
I will never get past that. That's what I'm very happy for you, Joe, that happened this week. That you put something up, and somebody who you were speaking about liked it, and you got that kind of response that, like, oh my God, they noticed I did something, and they noticed. That's really cool.
Yeah, Joe. For those that are listening, just tell us again about what happened.
Oh, with the tweet, yeah. Well, yeah. I posted. Because Steven used a quote of mine that spontaneous paragraph on Wonder Woman. So, I retweeted it. To shout out to what you're reading to myself, and I just happened to put hashtag at Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, and I'm like, all right, cool. We'll see what happens. It was more for the fact of getting myself and what you're reading noticed. The guys out there, and a couple hours later, my thing goes over. It's like, well, I got the email first before the tweet. Like, the email came out, like, at Gal Gadot. I'm like, all right, like somebody tweet. It's like, all right, somebody tweeted me. Then I looked it up and it said like Gal, and I clicked on it. It was like actually her. I'm like, and at first I wasn't sure because that fan sites and like people make up a fake profile. And I scrolled down and said Instagram pic. I looked at it, and it linked to the picture of her lifting the weights. I'm like, holy crap, this is really Gal Gadot. Because again, the social media page, unfortunately, you can get away with doing that now, where you can like fake a profile, and how many people here in the news get caught with that. And they get scammed or so that's why I'm like, all right, the real Steve Scotty right now. No, but what I'm trying to say, people get caught like that. So I wanted to make sure that it was really her. And
but it was her, and she saw it, she noticed it, she favorited it, and that's really cool.
And I'll say what's probably even more exciting in over the course of writing, I think what you'll like, and I know Steven's had this once or twice, where you critique something, you say something critical about a piece of work, and you put the article out there, and you still get retweeted by the author or the artist or the publisher, or you get a thank you, and you look at it and you go, but really? But I said I didn't love it. Like, I said it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. That kind of thing. But the reality is, if you're fair, and you take the time to really think about the thing you're writing about, people appreciate that, even when you're not 100% in their corner, even when you're not just blindly stumping for them. I think more and more now, because there are so many sites that do what we do, there are a lot of sites that do what you're reading does. I think it's even more important to be forthright. Mm-hmm. Is probably the word I like best. I think if there's any advice anybody can give to anybody who writes, and that is to be honest and forthright and fair. If we keep doing that, I don't think we'll ever have a problem doing what we do or being allowed to do what we do, because a lot of what we do, we're allowed to do. Sure, we could watch TV and we could write, we could do write-ups on stuff like that all the time. But to get our hands on the books, to get into the conventions, to get the interviews, to get people to answer our calls and emails, you have to be semi-popular. You have to be the type of person people want to talk to. And it takes a long time to get there. We're getting there. Yeah. We are getting there. I think you'll enjoy the ride, Joe. It's quite an interesting thing to be involved in.
I'm enjoying it already. This is great. And I was telling Steve too, I love doing the recaps too, but doing the original pieces, it's because again, we can put our style on it rather than just saying, okay, in this episode, Penguin shot this guy, and then Gordon arrested. It's just, it's your own style, but at the point, it's a recap. You're just copying what you see. Whereas like now the Rhonda Rousey piece or Wonder Woman, like here's what we're saying. Okay, here's our take on what we think. And
I was going to say your first recaps. You put a lot of personality into the opening and closing, which is what you should do. You should color it from You should be writing about it in reference to what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tell us what you're seeing. You need to tell us what you think about what you're seeing. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
A good basis for that is Steven's *Halt and Catch Fire* reviews. Those were great. That was a great series. It really, I don't know about the series television-wise, but I know the series of recaps were great. I didn't watch the show. I read his recaps.
No, it was comprehensive, Joe, where I basically the week before season 2 began, I went through each episode of season 1, had recap up like one a day, did all 10 episodes, and then did all 10 episodes of season 2, and really comprehensive stuff. It was like the producers, the creators, some of the actors. It got a lot of great attention, a lot of great feedback, and it was probably one of the biggest, I'd say, TV show critiques. Yeah. It wasn't even so much anymore about a recap or a review, but it was like a critique of each episode, and it was a lot of fun.
We just got an email. We just got Ivan Salazar from Comixology sent us the new Submit books, which he hasn't been doing lately. We haven't gotten this email in a while, so that's kind of nice that it popped out. They got 2, 4, 6, 8. They got about 10 titles, 12 titles coming out this week. So I will forward this. Follow the directions on the email if you want to review anything. You log in, you get into Submit, the Submit account, and you get to review stuff. Just remember, don't buy anything because it goes to their account if you buy stuff. Remember to log out. But this is a good one. You guys should look at this because this is the stuff that people have gotten through. For those of you who are listening who don't know what the Submit program is, Comixology, the digital comic book publisher, has a program where anybody can submit a comic to them. If it passes by their editors, if they look at it and they think it's a comic worthy of being published, they will publish it. They'll put it out there on the platform. So it really is, Wild West. If your book's good enough to get through the gate, get by the gatekeepers, it'll be out there on Comixology. They send out an email to the reviewers and say, come and take a look. But most don't. It's very few that actually look at the Submit stuff because a lot of it's raw. A lot of it's very raw. We try to weed through and get a couple of good books to get out there and talk to people about, and, say, hey, come take a look at this. A lot of my favorite books have gotten through gotten to Comixology this way. I don't know what's coming out this week, but now we have the email, so we're going to have to look. Looks like some interesting stuff. I hope there's some good stuff. Nobody I recognize off the top of my head. But you know what? Who knows? The next great book could be here. The next amazing book could be right here. So I will.
Yeah, Comixology is a lot of fun, Joe, because the thing is, again, you had mentioned before about perks. One of the perks about, really being a part of a site, writing for a site, especially one that specializes in comic book reviews, and even TV shows, a lot of times publishers, companies, they'll send you advanced copies of things. And just like off the top of my head, in regards to this, Comixology, they put out a lot of great digital comic books. They'll send it to you. It's all free. So not even talking about like skipping out on your local comic store, but you're getting the opportunity to read a lot of comic books that are coming out like in a week or two, completely for free. And just the fact that it's being offered, to read them, it's fun. And then if you have something to say, it's worth, putting together maybe like a paragraph or two, 300 words minimum, and basically, showing that you're grateful for them sending it to you and saying, hey, I liked it, I didn't like it, here's why. And it's actually a lot of fun, something that I don't do enough of in regards to Comixology.
Yeah.
But definitely,
it reminds me a lot of what we come home with from small shows, because it's a lot of books that no one would see if we didn't show them off. And I like it because it doesn't hurt the small publisher at all for us to read these. One of the things Stephen and I discussed very early on is that we try not to take stuff from self-publishers. I always say to people, email me your PDF, don't give me your book, sell your book.
Mm-hmm.
And Comixology is smart that way. They know that, all we have to do is post a review with a link. Somebody's going to click that link.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's going to jump over and try to buy it, which is the whole point. That's that's why you look for the ones you like and you get them out there, because hopefully somebody will buy the book and therefore keep the system alive and keep us in comic books, right? Because we all want to read comic books till we're dead. Yes, comic books, comic book movies, comic book television. Stephen, to call back something you talked about before, how many episodes of Arrow is Constantine going to be in? Do we know?
So far, it's actually just this one that already appeared. They haven't announced whether or not he'll be reprising his role again. But in watching tonight's episode, there's a character, the main villain, Damien Dark, who they have in this season, played by Neil McDonough.
Love him.
They pretty much built him up in a way that I can't see how Oliver or Team Arrow could possibly defeat him without using Constantine. Okay. He's a mystical, magical character that Oliver already went up against once in the season premiere. He tried to go up against him tonight, and he actually was defeated. And then it had to cause an explosion, and he just had to run from him because he knew he couldn't fight him. Constantine seems like the only person that would make sense in bringing him in and using him to fight him. Season 4 hasn't finished filming. I think Constantine might come back.
Well, I think Cerrone on Twitter seemed to be, the showrunner for Constantine. Yes, the showrunner for the original Constantine show. Yeah, he's all over Twitter, like pushing people to do as much as they can to try to get people to get this done. Which, if you're a Constantine fan, if you're a Hellblazer, you got to get out there and find this stuff on Twitter and help push, because so he doesn't get a show, he should be on one of the other shows then. At least, keep him as a recurring character on all of them as far as I'm concerned.
Keep him on Arrow, coming back maybe every couple episodes, maybe once or twice a season.
Let alone, bring him into all of them. Bring him into Flash. Bring him into, Legends of Tomorrow. Let him. Why not have this guy recurring all over the universe? If there's any character and actor that could be a recurring character who slips in and slips out, it is Constantine. that's who he's always been. Justice League Dark is a perfect example of that. It was a great short run series where, I don't know if it's still running now. It was New 52, so I don't know if they carried over. But he did a great job of kind of being the non-team player. He worked really well that way. And Ryan obviously has it locked down. This is his role. There's no reason to ever, look at anybody else for it. It'd be nice to see if they could just pop him in and out of stuff and keep him alive for a couple of years till the market opens up to put another, mid-season replacement show together for him. Who knows?
We'll see.
I'd love to see that.
We were talking one day about how we think Constantine was more of a circumstance issue than the actual show. Remember we were saying about how basically the subject matter of the show and putting it on NBC at 8, 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, completely.
Which is odd, because that is kind of the subject matter that has worked for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's funny because the thing is, you look at something like Gotham that takes place on Monday nights at 8 o'clock, and it's a very, the stuff that they're doing on Gotham is like FX level or like USA level of like grid and darkness and violence. And the fact that the network's allowing them to get away with half the stuff that they do for an 8 o'clock show, it's amazing. Especially when you regard Constantine on NBC Friday nights at 9, and one of the biggest issues for I think like the first 3 episodes were, can we let him smoke? And on Gotham, you're having people like get their heads cut off and stuff like that, and it's really dark stuff. I think Constantine, though, the material that Constantine's about, it always lent itself more for a station like Sci-Fi or maybe FX, but definitely like Sci-Fi. It's a shame that it didn't get picked up, but I know it's airing on El Rey right now, and they're doing an amazing job with Dusk Till Dawn. So maybe there might be a possibility that El Rey might, use the character in some form. But I definitely agree with Joe.
I would hope that was what El Rey was going to announce at Comic-Con. I was really hoping that they were bringing the show back, but they just didn't. I was hoping for it, but it just didn't happen. It's a shame. Maybe that's what it needs. Maybe it needs to be done on a cable network. Maybe it needs a Netflix deal.
On Netflix, Netflix would be great. Like,
or Hulu, or even Yahoo Screen is doing stuff.
Or Amazon Prime. I know Amazon Prime's doing The Man in the High Castle right now.
I started watching that. I read it as a youth. It's one of the books I loved. Because I'm just a fan of that genre and with Vonnegut, and that author. It's good stuff. But I was a little. I mean, I enjoyed the first episode of the show. I want to watch more of it. I think it's been it's been since high school since I read it, so it's kind of like, do I remember it being like this? Is this what the book felt like? And that can be limiting in some ways. That your brain gets locked into, is that what the book felt like? But I am a reader first. I always have been. Ex Barnes Noble employee, you know what I'm saying? Like, books are books, man. They're the stuff that this is all made out of.
Books are the one thing where I'll download music on an iPod stuff like that. But books, I can't go to a Nook I have to have a book.
I agree with you. I mean, I read digital comics because it's part of what we do. It's part of what we're trying to do, so it's kind of hard not to. But I would much prefer to have a comic in my hand. I mean, I'm not going to put the camera around the room because it's crazy. No, but the amount of comics that are stacked up in this room at this moment it's kind of thick. It's a little sick. It's kind of bordering on that whole. Remember that apartment that they cleaned out in Manhattan, like that had the newspapers piled up everywhere. They couldn't even find the body. Yeah, I'm bordering on that now. There's just the banner is blocking like giant piles of comic books that no one's allowed to see because it's kind of frightening.
I could do digital music. I could do Netflix, but I can't do digital books. Like I have to have the actual book.
Well, we'll get you into it. We'll get you reading all of it because we need it. We need the content.
Oh yeah, no, of course, but in general, like for myself.
Yeah. Oh no, personal. I mean, that's just look at what I've just go into Royal sometime and see what I actually I've finally slowed down my list. My list was at the point that it was costing me too much money, just too much money. No, like it was bad. It was like, my wife started saying, really? Seriously? I mean, I get it. You have a website, but seriously? I'm trying, Oh, we're getting there. We'll get it. We'll figure it all out. I will never go completely digital because I just can't go there, but at some point I'm going to have to just give in and downgrade a little, get rid of the, what is it now? 15, 18 short boxes in my office. That's not counting what's in the basement. It's getting.
It's funny because I have 2 long boxes, but as Joe can attest to, he's seen how stuff has started to pile up in my room, like Sherlock Holmes, where I just have whimsical piles of comics.
That is what it's turning into, gentlemen. It's kind of scary. No, I can't even. No, I won't even look back there myself. No, never mind. Can't. And the problem is you get stuff. The real problem, Joe, is what you're going to find is digitally and physically as you do reviews. TV's, well, it'll happen to you with TV too, because you'll notice your DVR is stacking up with things you want to write about. Mm-hmm. But you get you wind up with books that you pick up at Comic-Con that are great books, like the creators that you never review, because the reviews, you start writing the review and then you start going into like, oh, well, there's a press release I have to attack, and I'm supposed to be playing Minecraft story mode right now for a review. I got to play it again. I played it once, but it's a Telltale game. Yeah. So decisions change gameplay. So I've only played through the episode once. I haven't gone back and changed all my decisions yet. So I can't write the review. But I need to review this book because
Overrun.
Oh, let's not even talk about Overrun. Overrun's killing me. Are you kidding me? No. This one. I told you about this. This is my big. This was my big screw up. This is a book by a friend of mine, a guy I've met a bunch of times, Michael Brackow, who I know. I mean, I've met him at a bunch of conventions. Great guy. I see him at Comic-Con, and I say to him, "Oh, Mike, your book, Creator, it was a great book. I was so happy to write it up. It was such a great book." He's like, "Oh, you did a review?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did a review. It's a great book. I loved it." And I realized that, no, I hadn't done the review. I didn't even have the book. I had read his webcomic version of the book and shared it on Facebook with a blurb. Oh. Never wrote a review. So this book that I love, that I bought, by the way, is just I still haven't written the review because I'm an idiot and I'm so backed up now that it's crazy. Boston this year, up the river. Travis McIntyre from SourcePoint. Met him, bought the book, loved the book. Haven't written it up yet because it's just there's piles here, piles of stuff, guys. It's slowly. If I could pull the camera back, you'd see that the piles just slowly like they're over my head now, connecting and like I don't know. Pull one, I'm just gonna be buried. My kids will find me in the morning.
So Steven, this is the world you've entered me into, Steven.
Yeah.
But then again, Steven's in the same boat because right now in Steven's house, I happen to know that in Steven's house is this hardcover of Superman, the strips, the newspaper strips from the war years, 38 to 45.
We saw that in Martin Noble.
And he's going to write a review on that one.
Oh, awesome.
Because he got that hardcover from the publisher who was nice enough to send it to us and say, hey, guys, you want to talk about this? And Steven was like, "Ooh, I'll talk about this one." And I said, "Okay, Steven, so you should talk about this one." So at some point,
go to Rhode Island.
Now, to be fair, I have the other two in my room, and I have to write those up. So we'll get there. Luckily, for the most part, I have never found a creative that didn't understand that there's a lot of stuff to review. And that there's stuff with deadlines and there's stuff that you have to get out first because it's still in previews or there's stuff that is coming out next week and you want to make sure it gets out there beforehand. Most of the books that wait are books that I know are trades that can be purchased at any moment. Like another book I got in Boston this year called Runners. It's a really cool sci-fi novel that I'm looking forward to reviewing. But again, this is a trade and it's been around a while and Sean sells this very well at every con he attends. So I'm not worried about, me not reviewing it is not hurting him. Reviewing it will help him. But, it's the kind of book that this sits there and I'll read it 4 or 5 times before I actually get a review together. But I know it's already out there and it's selling. And it's not a book that if I don't write it up, is anybody going to know about it? Yes, people know about it. I just want more people to know about it. It's a weird balance, though. It's a very strange balance, this business. Very weird trying to figure out when to do what for who and how much to put into it.
It becomes really difficult because, you start to really try and think about it in terms of priority, like what you can get out, what you can't get out. Today, for example, we started out the morning where it was going to be, okay, we're going to do a James Bond piece. We're going to do a piece on Dark Horse Comics, the stuff that came out today. And we're going to do a thing on Batman animated series. And then, the picture of Gal Gadot came out. And then that kind of was like, no, let's write about this. This is important to get out there. And just like, we're not just going to put out the picture. We're going to actually give it some thought and write about it.
And that was the uncanny spoiler too. That had to go out. You know what I mean? That had to go out first thing this morning. That couldn't wait.
Yeah. So for tomorrow, we've got Arrow, the recap. We've got Dark Horse Comics, and we've got Batman. We've got those 3 that'll be coming out for tomorrow, and it's just that's what we have lined up. That's what is now the priority for tomorrow. But if anything comes out, like if they announce that Rhonda Rousey is going to be in Wonder Woman, then that's going
to jump to the top of the list. Yeah, definitely. Well, I was just looking at whatyoureading.com at the main page, and I think 8 out of 10 images on the site at the moment are women in the main, like in the featured photos, which is great, but it's just interesting because you did the Eternal Youth Batman animated series review and Poison Ivy's in there. You got the Gal Gadot piece. You got Ming Na is in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. featured image. Rhonda's there and Supergirl, and it's an interesting time, isn't it? This is cool.
Yeah, well,
even Gotham recap is a female actress in the image.
Aaron Rick.
Yeah,
that's great. That's brilliant. I never noticed that before. That's cool.
See, Steve, our Wonder Woman piece is coming to fruition already. Look at this. Explosion of female leads.
Yeah.
No, cool is the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman thing's doing well. The Eternal Youth thing, we took a little bit of a break, but there's only 134 episodes left of that, and so we're gonna hammer through that. Well, yeah. Well, what's great is Joe. One of the things that I'll mention that we never really mentioned before. Earlier this summer, What You're Reading, we were doing daily recaps and reviews of Batman animated series. Now, an interesting thing about that is we started that where there would be essentially a review recap for every Batman, every Superman, every Justice League, every Batman Beyond episode. We took a break. Other things kind of like came in place. But the feedback was really good. A lot of people liked it. But, we put that on the back burner. So I was looking at the episodes today, and I was also looking at the episodes in relation to how many days are left until Batman versus Superman comes out.
I love that you know exactly how many.
He has a calendar on his phone.
So you have 134 days on this Thursday until Batman versus Superman. And if you do Batman the Animated Series Season 2, 3, 4, and all the seasons of Superman the Animated Series, those are 134 episodes.
All right.
So what you're reading, we're going back to doing the Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series reviews. We'll have one up a day, which basically means, one episode has to be watched today or two, in one day for the review to be written. But it's going to be a lot of fun. People tend to really like it. And it's a good piece.
If you're smart, you'll binge watch and write a bunch, and then relax.
Yeah, I did the one for. I watched the one which is Perchance to Dream, which will be the one for Thursday.
Oh, cool. I just love the fact that he knew off the top of his head that there was 134 episodes to correlate to 134 days to correlate to the rest of the animated series.
I hope that frightens you as much as it frightens me. Okay.
I don't know if I should. That's one of those things. Am I amazed or am I frightened? Like,
got the shirt on.
Steven frightens me pretty much daily. Daily, there's something that I go.
Statues. And I've got the poster.
Yeah, he's got the Fortress of Solitude right there. Like he's done. Just throw a few icicles in there, you're good.
Yeah, we got to get him some of those crystals, huh? Some of those computer crystals. You don't have any of those? You don't have any of the computer crystals that Marlon Brando sent to Christopher Reeve?
I guess the closest thing is like the crystalline,
No. You cannot build a Fortress of Solitude with that.
You
cannot throw that.
You at least have the little key from Man of Steel.
I have it, Joe.
Yeah,
you remember I wear it.
All right, so he has the little key that goes into it.
Yeah, I have the Kryptonian command key, the necklace version, which is the actual. I have the replica. And yeah. So Chuck, when you watched Man of Steel,
when I watch,
we should just watch it together.
Not if. When
we should just watch it together.
I'm not making fun of you. You realize I am no better. I mean, as I reach around my desk, I can pick up a myriad of crazy.
That's the Patrick Stewart one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I really got it for the wheelchair because I just love that they actually made.
Put that closer to the screen. I want to take a look at that because I have that actually.
At the very beginning, when I logged into the podcast, he had a J. Jonah Jameson figure.
No.
Or was that?
No.
Or was that the Perry White one you gave him?
Yeah. Why would you have a J. Jonah? There's no J. Jonah Jameson figures anywhere in my house. I mean, it's just silly. There's no reason for that. That would be insane. That would be like having a Stan Lee floating around somewhere. You just wouldn't have a Stan Lee just floating around. Why would you have? That's just silly, man. What kind of house do you think this is? I'm a 45-year-old man. Why do you think I would have any of these things? I mean, what 45-year-old man would just have a Batman sitting on his desk, an Adam West Batman stuff? That why would any this is the problem?
Oh, which kind of writer would have?
Oh, by the way, Steve, this is still sitting in my house too, and this is yours.
No,
they sent us this, Joe. They sent us this.
Cool.
Darkseid's gonna use his Omega beams to.
So, again, by the way, when you get a chance to meet Frank Thierry, you're gonna like him a lot. He's a nut job.
I'm looking forward to it. Joe got the opportunity to meet Adam Christopher and Chuck Wendig of The Shield.
Wendig's great. Yeah. I'm sorry, I follow him on Twitter for years.
Yeah, actually, I put a picture up of me getting the autograph signed, and he's like, "Thanks," and he said oh, great meeting you and stuff. So he commented on it. Yeah, he's a cool guy, Chuck.
He is. He's a lot of fun to follow on Twitter too. He has a lot of.
And he's a great editor.
What?
And he's a great editor.
Yeah. No, I was about to say he has a great name. He's got the best first name ever, Wendig.
Yeah, he wrote.
Oh, I thought we were talking about stuff.
Both Chucks are great. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, Chuck at Wendy, when he autographed my book, he wrote Ewok Dance Party. I'm like, I'm sold. That's it.
This is my new. What do I do now, Steve? I have my paper. I have papers. I got paper. I can talk about things because I got.
There you
stuff.
go.
I got stuff. I got news. Yeah, I got news. I got no news. There's no news. It's good news. There's no news.
Yep.
So all right, how do we wrap up tonight? What do we top off on? We've talked about like 9,000 topics. So
we spoke about.
What do we
do like a quick wrap up? We spoke about Rhonda Rousey, UFC 195, but mainly in regards to whatyourreading.com and how we're going to be offering top 5 comic book heroes Rhonda Rousey can play. If you check out whatyourreading.com, you'll see still on the main page we have our Rhonda Rousey comic book hero article that I wrote. But Saturday will be the main piece that one of our writers, Joe, will actually that he's actually taken the time to put together, which will be really cool. We spoke about media and how media tends to kind of slant certain angles on people, and how we've tried to really be as, I'd say, respectful as possible. We spoke about Batman versus Superman. There's only 134 days left. 134. Also on whatyourreading.com, we're going to have a daily countdown until Batman versus Superman by recapping and reviewing every single episode of Batman the Animated Series. So that's definitely something you can check out.
134 days of justice.
134 days of justice. And probably the most exciting piece of information is that today Gal Gadot posted a picture on our Instagram and our Facebook, and we didn't just repost the picture, but we wrote about it. We gave some thought about Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman, how she'll be seeing Batman vs. Superman in March, how she's going to begin filming Wonder Woman if she hasn't already started filming Wonder Woman this month.
Well, let's for release. Interwebs. There's got to be a picture somewhere.
And so we've got that out on whatyourreading.com as well. And I think that's pretty much it. We've got Rhonda Rousey, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Batman vs. Superman, Tom Cruise, Constantine, conventions.
We ran the gamut tonight. We did. We talked about everything. I want to thank you guys for hanging out and shooting the shit with me. It was fun. It was worth talking. Yeah, occasionally, Stephen, we can go, PG at least. I know I've been very G the last couple of conversations because I'm trying to stay there, but I'm just, it's not who I am, man. So wait, before we log off, Joe, where do we find you?
Scott Summers would keep it always PG rated.
Yeah.
Scott Summers.
Yeah. I'm not a DC guy. I'm a Marvel 90s guy. Everything's dark and bloody and mean and evil.
Wolverine. He's Nightcrawler.
Well, exactly. I'm not Scott. I'm Wolverine. Yeah. Sorry.
He's Nightcrawler, but wants to be Wolverine.
Joe, where can we find you besides your pieces on whatyourreading.com, which are coming fast and furious, becoming our recap king? Can we find you on
Which scored Gal Gadot, by the way?
Can we? You mentioned Fast and Furious. And yes, I'm at Twitter at Joe Grodensky, JoeGrodensky. That's my Twitter.
You spelled that.
Yep, I spelled it out. It's not a very unique. It's not a very common name, so.
And are you on Instagram, good sir?
Yes, I am at JoeRed14.
Cool.
Yep, that's my Instagram.
Steven, where do we find you these days?
You can find me at Reggie Mantle III on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram at Sherbert Downey Jr. And also, if you go on iTunes, check out 9Panel Entertainment, 9Panel. It's a weekly podcast that I've been doing with some great people, and you might want to check that out. We just recorded our weekly episode yesterday in which we spoke about upcoming shows, comic books that we read. We discussed a little bit about movies, and that should be going up sometime this week, so make sure you check that out on iTunes. And, of course, my work on whatyourreading.com and alternativeminds.com.
Can't forget about them.
Yes.
We need them, trust me. They keep us going, too. And you know where to find me. I'm at all these places doing all these things behind me. So come to What You're Reading. Check out what we have to offer. I think you'll find a good article or two to read and share and enjoy and get involved in the conversation. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want to read about. Tell us what you want to talk about, and we'll handle it. It's what we do, right, guys?
Yep, that's what
you do.
Thanks for joining me tonight, fellas. I will speak to you all soon. And Joe, we got to figure out how to get you on camera more because this poor audio thing is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, my camera was working good, then for some reason it just went. Technology.
All right, brother. We will talk again. Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
right. You're
Have
welcome.
a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.